the conversations I've had with people on this podcast is they talk about that balancing, pursuing God's purpose and then family. Like, can you give us a practical tip that you could give to those who are listening, and an example of how you could prioritize your wife or your family instead of your purpose? Does that make sense? Are you honest?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the first thing is to recognize that we shouldn't be compartmentalizing. Like when I first started coaching, I did this kind of wheel of life thing, and you kind of say, hey, here's your spiritual life, here's your health, here's your relationships, and all that kind of stuff, with clear defined lines in between. But what I've come to realize is that they're not clear lines. They're kind of dotted lines, and it's not a life balance, but like a life blend.
Yes.
So I think that's really key. More practically, it's really looking at your schedule. Like, I can tell you what's important to you based on what you spent the most time on in the last week. It's that kind of thing. But then another layer of that is actually not just the quantity of time, but the intensity and the quality of time.
So good.
As well. Yeah. It's easy, like we fall into traps of thinking that we're spending time with our spouses and our loved ones, but we're not actually present.
Yes.
In our minds, we have all these things. I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about my to-do list.
Yes.
And that's something to be really aware of.
Yeah. No, Andy, that's so good. I always say, like, be 100% there. If you're being a mother, 100% mom. If you're a wife, 100% wife. Right? Because we're always like, sometimes my husband would get on me and I don't have it all figured out. My husband would give me a hard time sometimes. He was like, put your phone down. This is our time with our daughter and everything. So I've learned now because I don't have self-control when I say that. Like, I leave my phone. I hope I'm making sense. Like, I have to create boundaries for myself, because I know if something goes ping, I'm like, okay, is this an emergency? Is something going on? So I leave my phone away from us so that I can focus on doing that, because I'm a new mom, Andy, and I have a 1-year-old and I've never been a mom ever, so I'm not used to like, okay, I'm a wife, but now I'm a mother. That's a whole different ballgame.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Can you tell us just a way that you incorporate biblical principle in your business? I know you said you work with kingdom businesses, but what are some practical principles you've used and for your clients or your business that's really helped change the growth trajectory of your business?
Yeah, great question. I think the first and most important thing with this type of industry and as a coach is your own relationship with God. I mean, that is so key. Not just so that you can say, oh, I operate with integrity and all of that, but it's the real authenticity that comes from that.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to say, oh, this is a biblical principle, this is a kingdom principle. If you have spent the time to work on your relationship with God, then that naturally, the fruit of that will naturally be God-focused, will naturally be kingdom-focused. And so that spills over into my work with clients and business. So it's that kind of thing. But then being more practical about it and actually talking about kingdom principles in business, for me, it's because I started off working one-to-one coaching, like, it's the mindset, and it's so important. There's a phrase, we are always acting in accordance with what we believe about ourselves and our environment. Right? We're always acting in alignment with what we believe about ourselves and our environment. And so I've seen entrepreneurs, or people who are trying to be, aspiring to be, they struggle to kind of get started, is a fear. And they're focusing on themselves, and there's something that they believe about themselves, right? And it goes down to the root cause of insecurity, feeling like they're not good enough, and then those type of things. But if you concentrated on God and realized actually how accepted you are,
yes,
then that would birth in you the confidence. Actually, what it does is it takes focus away from you, because it's not about you.
Yeah.
And then it focuses on God and what he wants you to do. and the calling, the job, the goal that he has in mind for you, similar to what you were talking about before. It's that outward focus. So then your fears and insecurities about putting yourself out there, they don't really matter. You can't get rid of the fear, I think, sometimes, but overriding that is your bigger desire to want to serve.
Yeah.
Is your bigger desire to, like, you know, chase after God's heart.